So it's probably the biggest topic of discussion that happened last year. Would Rodgers have made it in the NFC Championship game on third down, what ended up being his last snap of the season, if he ran the ball instead of trying to throw it? So I figured we can speculate all we want because some people say yes, he would have. Some people say there's no chance. Well, we can use math and get pretty close to figuring out if he actually would have made it or wouldn't have made it. So let's do that. So first, I paused it right here. This is right as Rodgers was throwing the ball. I figured this will be a good starting point just to place everybody and see where they would have to go. Also, you see the dot I put on the screen. That's where I'm going to start off suggesting that Rodgers would have, that's where he would have had to go to. So Aaron Rodgers is 15.46 yards away, and just so you guys know how I calculated some of this stuff, I used where they were on the field, the numbers, the hash marks. A couple of these I had to guess, specifically Sean Murphy-Bunting isn't really near any marker, so that was kind of tough. But everyone else is kind of close to a hash mark or close to the sidelines, close to something that I can easily measure how far they'd have to go. So these might not be the most accurate, but I would bet that they're very accurate and pretty accurate. The only asterisk is the Sean Murphy-Bunting one because that is kind of a guess. But anyways, I did decide to calculate where not just Rodgers is, but every Tampa Bay player who I felt could realistically get into the play. So there's 5 main guys I wanted to talk about: Devin White, Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh. Those are the 5 guys. So I thought had a chance, and so I plotted how far away are they from that spot. And this is how far away they were. Murphy-Bunting is the closest, again, asterisk, but I believe that's close to correct. It's about a little over 8 yards away. You also have Davis and Devin White, who I just calculated the same spot because they're essentially, just at the same spot. So they're about 11 yards away each. You also have Jason Pierre-Paul, who is slightly behind Aaron Rodgers, and Suh, again, about a yard behind Aaron Rodgers as well. Of course, this doesn't tell us much of anything because people are, they have different speeds. So how do we know exactly who would have gotten there first? Well, we can use their 40 time, which isn't exactly perfect because Rodgers clearly ran a faster 40 time when he was getting drafted than he does now when he's a lot older. And same thing with, Jason Pierre-Paul and Suh. So it's a little bit tough, although I would say the other 3 Tampa Bay players are probably around that speed because, their 40-yard dashes in the past couple of years, all those guys are young. So this is how long it would have taken everybody to get to that spot. It would have taken Murphy-Bunting under a second. And you see Aaron Rodgers actually would have been the 4th fastest guy to get there. Murphy-Bunting, White, and Davis all would have beat him there. And then Jason Pierre-Paul and Suh wouldn't have gotten there as quickly, so they probably would not have caught up. However, I'm sure there's some people who are going to already be typing in the comments below, but Jackson, there's so much stuff you haven't accounted for. And that, to this point in this video, is true, there is. So we look back over here. So really, only Carlton Davis, I would say, I can guarantee would have gotten to that spot quicker, right? Because Carlton Davis already leaning over there. He's going to move a little bit more once the ball is thrown to his right, which is towards the bottom of the screen. But as of right now, he's already kind of leaning towards his left. He had already slowed down. So I would say that he probably would have, been able to move and get to his top speed just as well as Rodgers would have. I see no clear advantage for Davis than Rodgers in that scenario. But for guys like Sean Murphy-Bunting and Devin White, there are Green Bay players who could potentially get in the way. So we don't know how well they would have blocked. It's an asterisk there, or not an asterisk, but just a question mark because we don't know. But Davis, we pretty much do know he would have beaten Rodgers there. However, there's another thing I haven't accounted for, and it's the fact that you can't just beat Rodgers to the goal line, because if you both get there at the same time, then Rodgers gets a touchdown. So you have to beat him before. However, Davis, if you looked at the chart, Davis got there a lot quicker. I mean, Carlton Davis would have got there at 1:25. Rodgers would have gotten there at 1:82. That's 1.82 seconds, 1.25 seconds. So could Davis have gotten there if, he had to get there at the 5-yard line instead of at the goal line? Well, yes. So right here, what I did here is said, okay, Rodgers, and by the way, for this calculation, the first dot I did, that was just halfway from the hash marks to the end zone. Now I'm doing a quarter of the way through from the hash marks to the end zone because that's the angle Rodgers would have taken. And if Davis takes this angle, then Davis would have beaten Rodgers there. it would take Rodgers about 0.91 seconds to get there, and Davis, it would only take 0.84 seconds to get there. So Davis beats Rodgers to the 5-yard line. So Rodgers is not getting a touchdown here unless he breaks a tackle and then probably has to do some other stuff. I mean, honestly, I don't think Rodgers gets a touchdown here unless he hurdles Carlton Davis. Maybe if he hurdles Carlton Davis, then he can get in. But keep in mind, Pierre-Paul and Suh are right behind him. So even if he breaks a tackle, he would have to slow down to do so, and I think they would be right there to clean it up. And also, Devin White and Sean Murphy-Bunting are in the area and could get around their blocks and make that play. But even without that, I think Pierre-Paul comes in and makes a tackle if Rodgers gets a missed tackle on Davis. And we could also try this spot, which is, now we're going further. This is if Rodgers went for the corner of the end zone instead of sort of towards that middle area that I had been talking about. I did the middle area just because that felt like that was better, but I wanted to try the outside area because maybe I was wrong. However, I was correct that doing the first spot I picked would have been the better route or a better angle for Rodgers to take, even though neither would have worked because Carlton Davis would have gotten here at a better rate than he did on the other one. Rodgers would have gotten there in 1.51 seconds, whereas Davis would have gotten there in 1.36 seconds. So basically, no matter where you slice it, Davis is getting there, and Davis is getting there about 5 yards before Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to get into the end zone. Now, of course, Rodgers, when he gets tackled, could fall forward, but I realistically don't see any way he gets, past the 3-yard line, and I think he probably gets tackled around the 5-yard line. So, me personally, I don't think it's that big of a benefit from gaining 3 yards. I know it's a popular narrative that Rodgers should have still ran it because he would have at least gotten, to around the 4-yard line, and then LaFleur wouldn't have sent out the field goal team, but they shouldn't have sent out the field goal team anyways. I did a whole video on that. So Rodgers was under the impression that the right call would be made, so of course, he's going to just do what would give him the best chance to get the ball into the end zone, and that would be to take a shot. Because look, this is the other factor. He's kind of open. Like, Davante Adams has a chance to make this play. This is not a 0%er type throw. It's not like he just threw the ball away. He had an opportunity right here. But watch, Mike Edwards makes a great diving stop. I mean, that was an incredible play by Mike Edwards, and I guess why give someone credit when you can criticize Aaron Rodgers instead? That seems to be the way a lot of people think. But he deserves the credit, I think, more so than Rodgers deserves blame. I think that should be pretty clear, actually. So, yeah, I mean, the one thing other people might say is that, Davis was kind of stopped and Rodgers had a bit of a running start. So maybe Rodgers could have still found a way to get into the end zone just because of that. But I would argue that I'm also using Rodgers' 40 time from over a decade ago. So I don't know if that's really true. And I think Davis, part of why he leaned over at the end was because of the pump fake, or not pump fake, but the throw. And so if there was a pump fake, well, maybe then you could argue that Davis would have gotten completely fooled and Rodgers would have had a step. But I would also argue that a pump fake takes time, and that would have, allowed for Jason Pierre-Paul or Suh to catch up. And like you even see on this play, Suh does end up touching Rodgers right after he throws it. So if Rodgers took the time to do a pump fake, I think he gets tackled even shorter. So I just think there's no way that Aaron Rodgers was scoring on this play. I just don't. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Maybe you disagree with one of the things I used to get to this spot. I should also mention that, all of the dots you see on the screen here throughout this video were not to scale. The data itself was to scale, but then the stuff on the screen was just, that was my best estimate of the spot that I used for the math equations. So should throw that in there. So if you say, that's a little bit over half, I'm not sure if that counts. The dots are just for show. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.